like honey in Waitrose or indeed British sherry. I'm the produce of more than one country. Russian, Lithuanian, Germans, French, English, loads of English, not much Scottish or Welsh as far as I know. Not that there's anything wrong with that. When we were growing up, there were a series of myths about all our ancestors. On my mother's side, this Russian-Jewish guy who fled from the pogroms and then became a chess buddy with Einstein. And then on my father's side, there was the de Pfeffels, allegedly posh French toff-type characters. And then finally, there was this enigmatic, terrifying story about my grandfather's father, who is a Turkish guy called Ali Kemal.
That's very important documents here.
Well, I just think it's a fantastic chance to get to grips with some of the myths that my brothers and sisters and I grew up with as children.
Alexander Boris de Pfeffel Johnson, Tory politician and outspoken journalist, was born in 1964, the eldest of 4 children. Boris grew up with stories of his rich, diverse ancestry. Now he's in search of the truth behind the stories. He wants to find out about the backgrounds of his paternal grandparents, who he called Granddaddy and Granny Butter. As a boy, Boris was aware both grandparents had intriguing ancestry, worlds away from their life as Exmoor farmers.
Granny Butter, we were led to believe, and it was a subject of much hilarity when we were children, we were led to believe that Granny Butter had immensely distinguished French or Alsatian antecedents. When I say Alsatian, I mean from Alsace. They weren't dogs. My grandfather was also a wonderful guy, but he was certainly less of a talker.
Boris's grandfather, Wilfred Johnson, appeared a typical English farmer, but he was in fact half Turkish. His father was Ali Kemal, a politician and journalist. Boris knows that Ali Kemal had an untimely death, but this was a subject Wilfred never talked about.
It was a mystery. None of us ever discussed Ali Kemal with him. And indeed, I think there was a time, I'm told by my mother, there was a time when she vaguely brought something up about the Turkish connection, and my grandmother, Granny Butter, said, "Oi, no, you must never raise that ever again."
To try to find out about his grandfather Wilfred's relationship with Ali Kemal, Boris has come to see his own father, Stanley.
Hey, hi. I'll go. All right. Okay, this is the moment. Here.
Yeah, what's in that one there?
Stanley has dug out his father's birth certificate, which shows that his original name was not Wilfred Johnson at all.
What date does it say? 4th September 1909. Then here his name is Osman.
Osman Wilfred.
Sex boy, name and surname of father Ali Kemal. Obviously, from this document, his surname, his name, when he started off going to school, would have been Osman Kemal.
How do you think that went down with the rest of the class then?
Well, he didn't talk about it in particular.
Okay.
Ali Kemal himself was not present at birth. He was going about his business. And his mother died in childbirth, so she's not there to witness it. But his maternal grandmother, Margaret Brunn, appears to have
been present at the birth.
Present at the birth. She was called, I think, Johnson as a maiden name. Ali Kemal himself was not present at birth. And she effectively, Gran, my father used to call her, brought them up. Brought up my father and his sister Selma.
While his children were growing up in England, Ali Kemal was living and working in Turkey. Left alone to bring up her grandchildren, Margaret Johnson decided to change their surname from the Turkish Kemal to the more English Johnson.
At one stage, she's obviously written to the Home Office because we have a letter back from the Home Office dated 4th October 1916. Madam, in reply to your letter of the 21st ultimo means last month.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
On the subject of the nationality of your two grandchildren, I am directed by the Secretary of State to say that the boy is a British subject by virtue of birth in this country and requires no permission to change his name. And so from thenceforth, I think he is known as Johnson.
So here it all is. We take our name from Margaret Johnson, who was your paternal great-grandmother. Otherwise, we'd be called Kemal.
Well, of course, it might have been a jolly good thing to be a Kemal. If I was Kemal, I might be on the Tory A-list, in this new multicultural Britain.
You tell Cameron your name's Kemal.
From now on, I am Kemal.
Did Granddaddy ever know Ali Kemal?
Not as far as I know, absolutely not. He never mentioned having ever met his father. Is there a resemblance between them?
Yeah,
I think there possibly is, actually.
As a journalist and politician himself, Boris has long been intrigued by the mysterious figure of his great-grandfather Ali Kemal. Now he's decided to travel to Turkey, where Ali Kemal was born, to see what he can discover about his life and death.
Yeah, I've been to Istanbul before, several times, but never on the Ali Kemal trail. We'll have a vague understanding about what he got up to, but we don't really know. I don't know why he was assassinated, why he copped it. I want to know what happened to him.
Boris's great-grandfather Ali Kemal was born in 1869 in Istanbul, then the capital of the Ottoman Empire. Ruled by powerful sultans, the once mighty empire was now in decline, but it remained a force to be reckoned with. The Istanbul of Ali Kemal's childhood was a vibrant cosmopolitan city.
Lots of traditional Turkish geezers doing their thing. Watch out there.
Boris still has relatives living in the city. He's on his way to meet his cousin Sinan, a grandson of Ali Kemal.
Excuse me. Kirashli Mesjid Sokar.
He's hoping Sinan will be able to tell him about Ali Kemal's early life.
Maybe this is the Kirashli Mesjid. Sinan, how are you?
You made it.
Lovely to see you. How are you now? Listen, Sinan, why did you ask me to come to Kirashli Mesjid Sokar?
My grandfather, your great-grandfather, Ali Kemal, was born somewhere in Syria.
He was born somewhere, right?
Somewhere.
So he lived here for a while?
He spent most of his childhood here.
We don't know exactly which building it was in.
No, it was somewhere in Syria.
Ali Kemal's father was a wealthy merchant who gave his son a traditional Muslim education.
He went to a Quranic school.
Right.
And the curriculum consisted in memorizing the Quran.
The whole Quran?
The whole Quran, which is quite a feat when one considers that he was aged 6.
And which language was this in?
In Arabic.
Hey, here's the incredible thing. My great-grandfather, Ali Kemal, could not only read this whole thing, but he actually knew it all off by heart. Amazing. I won the Scripture Knowledge Prize, I want you to know. Well, that's got an issue. Yeah, certainly. And the Wilder Divinity Prize.
Ali Kemal's life didn't continue in a traditional vein. As a young man, he travelled to France and became a successful journalist. In 1903, he married Winifred Brune, daughter of Margaret Johnson. 3 years later, Winifred and Ali had a daughter, Selma. Then, in 1908, at the age of 40, Ali Kemal returned to Turkey, bringing his family with him. They settled in the village of Bebek, just outside Istanbul. Boris knows that on his return to Turkey, Ali Kemal continued his career as a journalist.
Ben, how are
Very
you?
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We're going to go to the library eventually.
He's meeting up with historian Ben Fortner. As a journalist himself, Boris is keen to see some of the newspaper articles his great-grandfather wrote. Ben's taking him to the library where the originals are kept.
So, Ben, what is this? You can read this stuff, can you?
Yes. This is the original copy of the newspaper that your great-grandfather wrote for. It's called Ikdam.
Ikdam.
And your great-grandfather, he's the lead columnist.
Okay.
Let's say,
Fantastic.
is that the right term? Okay, and this is starting here, running down 2.5 columns, and there is your great-grandfather's signature.
No
Ali-
kidding,
Ali
that's his
Kemal.
byline.
That's his byline.
How amazing.
So that's the prime real estate on the newspaper.
And it's political.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It was political, dangerously political. A few weeks after Ali Kemal's return, there was a revolution in Turkey. In the name of liberty, radical nationalists seized power from the autocratic sultan. But soon the revolutionaries began to use repressive tactics of their own, including political murder. Appalled by this and convinced there were better ways to bring about change, Ali Kemal used his newspaper columns to speak out against the new nationalist government.
The contradiction that the revolution was waged, was carried out in the name of liberty, but yet liberty is being, in his view, sacrificed or put on the back burner. Force and pressure cannot exist in a constitutional era, whereas we try to do everything by force and pressure. So he's being critical of the government. He's being critical of the society for relying on brute strength when, according to him, ideas, consensus should carry the day.
Ali Kemal was running real risks by speaking out. There were ominous signs that the nationalist government would not tolerate his very public criticism.
Only 4 days before this article was published,
Yeah.
an opposition editor had been assassinated by the nationalists.
The real tough guys.
Yes, and so the person murdered took a political stance very close to that of your great-grandfather.
Right.
So it must have been coming very close to the bone for him.
Wow-wee. So this is 1909, and he's starting to get apprehensive about the fate of people who are in more or less his political position.
That's right.
I mean, what you see, I suppose, is a great lesson about journalism and politics, because there's no doubt that the first duty of a columnist is to be read. And he's writing stuff that is readable, and it's punchy, and it's polemical. Whether it's politically safe is a difficult question. And that's where the boundary between journalism and politics becomes difficult. Because the imperative to be read and to be punchy and provocative can conflict with your political cause.
Events were moving fast. As Ali Kemal feared, the nationalists soon targeted him in their increasingly violent crackdown on those who opposed them. Boris is on his way to Bebek, the area where Ali Kemal and his family lived. It's now a wealthy suburb of Istanbul. Ali Kemal's daughter Selma was a young child at the time. Later she wrote an account of a dramatic night when her worried mother and grandmother were waiting for Ali Kemal to return home. Boris is reading this account for the first time.
About 9 p.m., Granny persuaded Mother to go to bed, and she waited for my father alone. At about 3 a.m., he came in a terrible state. Flinging himself into a chair, he cried, "Mother, it is bad, bad, bad." Granny then went upstairs to find Father, leaning over the newspaper, clasping his head in his hands and literally tearing his hair. Granny took a quick look at the newspaper. She said, Granny Johnson could read Turkish. She's a hell of a woman, Granny Johnson, isn't she? She saw his name and a list of 7 other names, all their friends, all to be hung under a clock within the next few days. Cripes. Next day, a young man by the name of Guttural arranged with the English chaplain that they would send his yacht that night to fetch Father. Papa donned the disguise. Around 11, he left Constantinople, embarking in the small hours on a French boat. A few days later, the 7 men were hung in Constantinople. Stand the crows.
Ali Kemal had had a narrow escape. He managed to make his way to Paris, leaving his family behind in Bebek. He wrote to his wife Winifred shortly after arriving.
Mon adoré Winnie, je suis arrivé ce matin à Paris. I arrived this morning in Paris. Ne t'inquiète pas. Don't worry. Soon the truth will out. How I was happy in Constantinople by the sides of my dear little family. Do not be afraid. The good times will return. And you are now my only consolation in my life. I kiss you 1,000 times as well as Selma and Mother. Ali. It's sweet, isn't it? He's obviously a very devoted family man, really. He's totally devoted to his setup with Winnie and Selma and Granny Johnson. I guess he just had these slightly, he got himself into a big political pickle. If he comes back, to judge by what happened to his 7 chums, he's got a very real risk of being topped. He's got to sort this out.
But it was to be world events that sorted things out for Ali Kemal. In 1914, the nationalist government took Turkey into World War I on the German side and lost disastrously. They were forced to resign, and British and French Allied troops occupied Istanbul. The Allies backed a new government, and in an extraordinary turn of events, Ali Kemal was invited to be Minister for the Interior. Convinced Turkey's best interests lay in cooperating with the Allies, he took the job. The tables had turned. Now Ali Kemal had real political power.
So this is the Sublime Port.
This is the Sublime Port.
Sublime or what? Fantastic.
And where we're going now is
How
the room
sublime
where
is that?
the cabinet meetings would have been held.
Right. Hey, superb. This is the business.
It's not bad.
Now, if I was Home Secretary in the Ottoman Empire or Interior Minister, whatever, I want to have a crackdown. He would say, no point in being Interior Minister without having a crackdown. So what's he going to do? He can crack down on aggressive beggars or panhandlers or squeegee merchants or something. What's his big initiative?
Well, as it turned out,
What do you crack down on?
Ali Kemal Bey had a major crackdown on his hands, and that was the attempt to suppress the emerging nationalist resistance movement over which they had increasingly less control.
Despite their defeat in the war, some key nationalists remained in positions of power. Chief among them was Mustafa Kemal, later known as Ataturk. At the time, Ataturk was a senior officer in the Ottoman army, a war hero and respected leader. He should have been taking his orders from the Allied-backed government in Istanbul, but in fact he was actively organizing nationalist resistance to the foreign occupation of Turkey. As Interior Minister, desperate to avoid a new war, Ali Kemal acted to try and stop him. Boris's great-grandfather was about to take on the man who would one day become the President of the Republic, the most famous man in modern Turkish history. Ataturk is still deeply revered throughout the country today.
And this is where it really gets dicey for Ali Kemal and his political story.
Yeah, I think you got some bad news for me here, have you, Ben?
Well, actually, I'm going to let someone else give you the bad news because although we've had some problems finding a Turkish historian who would speak about the Ali Kemal issue on camera,
You mean
the later
they didn't want to talk about it?
That's right.
Why not?
Because it's still controversial here in Turkey.
But one eminent Turkish historian, Dr. Ahmet Kuyaş, has agreed to talk to Boris about an infamous government order known as a circular that Ali Kemal issued sacking Mustafa Kemal Ataturk from the Ottoman army.
Come in.
Professor Kuyaş, hello. My pleasure to introduce you to Boris Johnson.
Hello, how do you
Professor
do?
Kuyaş.
Hello, how do you do? Hello, thank you
Shall
so
we
much,
come
thank
in?
you. That's fantastic, thank you.
So here we have the circular by the Minister
Ali
of the
Kemal.
Interior, Ali Kemal. It's dated June 23rd. Your great-grandfather sends this circular to all the governors saying that Mustafa Kemal is fired, you don't have to listen to his orders, he's not acting on behalf of the Ottoman government.
Right, this sounds like a serious political
Yeah.
mistake. He took on Ataturk, who was to become the father of modern Turkey, and whose face adorns every lamppost and municipal dog pound in modern Turkey. Quite right.
Official historiography in Turkey calls Ali Kemal, together with the Sultan, traitors.
Is it not possible that he just had the interests of Turkey at heart?
Of course. I mean,
Maybe he thought, look, this guy's trouble. All he wants to do is take on the French and the Brits. He's
Yeah.
going to cause us no end of bother.
Well,
all he was advocating was diplomacy.
yeah.
Trying to do the best for his country. Didn't want another war. It was simply that he was a
No.
loser in the political struggle.
No, that's another matter.
Following this notorious circular, Ali Kemal was forced to resign from the government. His political career over, he returned to journalism, writing pieces against the nationalists' war of resistance he was sure would lead Turkey to ruin.
It wasn't so much a political blunder at the end of his career, it was the natural conclusion of his opposition to the nationalists. And the more I dig into this, the more I think about it, the more respectable I think the case for Ali Kemal really is. And what he's saying is, we've had all these wars, what good does it do? And that's why he distrusted the nationalists. Modern Turkey, of course, it's a wonderful place. We all love it to bits, but because they've created a kind of secular religion out of Ataturk, they've got this ruler cult, it's become necessary symmetrically to demonize those who can be said to have opposed Ataturk. And I think if you look at what Ali Kemal was actually saying and doing, and the values he really stood for, I think that's unfair.
Fair or not, Ali Kemal was a marked man. In 1922, the nationalists led by Ataturk claimed victory and regained control over most of Turkey. One of their first moves was to go after those who had dared to criticize them. Ali Kemal was top of the list. Boris has never known the details of what happened next. But now his cousin Sinan has uncovered an astonishing account written by a junior officer who was present at Ali Kemal's interrogation and witnessed the events that followed.
The prosecutor asked him directly the reason why he was against the national movement. And Ali Kemal answered, "I never believed in the success of the movement. And I was convinced that in the case of failure, the fatherland would be totally ruined."
Which has been his line throughout. This is what he's always said.
When the interrogation was over, the local commander told me to gather a crowd of 100 people outside. Sometime later, Ali Kemal left the building. The crowd set on him, stoned him. Several people even stabbed him. He fell on the ground, blood pouring out of his head and his face. When Ali Kemal died, the crowd set on his body, stealing whatever valuable he had on him, his gold watch, his ring, and even his trousers. And then the dead body was hung on a tree.
Is that it?
That's it.
Oh, Jesus. Bastards. Having gone through the whole thing, I feel a very strong sense of pride in him. He had strong views, he belted this stuff out, and I do still think that it's completely unjust. Not only, of course, that he was assassinated, but that they continue to treat this victim of assassination as some sort of criminal. He had a point of view, and he stuck to his guns. I mean, maybe he's a lesson in the importance of not sticking to your guns for too long. I think he stuck to those guns for slightly too long, that was strictly good for him, which is an important point. The key thing is, I think, that's missed, is that he basically agreed with so much of what Ataturk was later to turn out to do. But as he said to his interrogators when he was arrested, he just disagreed about the methods. He disagreed with violence. It must have been very, very tough for my grandfather, all this. And maybe he just didn't want to know it. And maybe it was all just too ghastly for him. I don't know.
While Boris's grandfather never mentioned his family history, his wife Irene, who Boris called Granny Butter, was extremely proud and vocal about hers. She told stories of an aristocratic French heritage, a sharp contrast to her farming life.
Granny Butter. There she is with sheep. This is on Exmoor, where I spent quite a long time as a child. you've got to understand the contrast between Granny Butter's, imagined ancestry, imagined or not, I don't know, and the life she lived on Exmoor. It was, a life of extreme struggle against the elements. Very, very cold and damp. Everything covered with lichen. But she came from, or so she always used to tell us, long line of de Pfeffels, who were some ancient line of French nobility, which we claim we always, I have to say, as children, found slightly implausible.
But as a boy, Boris was aware of one tantalising clue that suggested Granny Butter really may have had a glamorous past.
There was a mythical, there used to be a great sort of wooden crate or canteen or something which contained the de Pfeffel silver. We never opened it, this chest, but it was on Aladdin's cave. It was a Tutankhamun's tomb of riches. And the gag was that anybody who bore the name de Pfeffel in the family would inherit this family silver. And I was due to inherit it as being Alexander Boris de Pfeffel Johnson, because I'd been cunningly christened by my parents. But then, tragically, when I was about 10, I think everybody decided it was, they were too hard up, so they flogged it. I have to say that one of the great mysteries of my childhood, and one of the mysteries of my life, many mysteries, but one of the mysteries has been just how posh was Granny Butter, and was she really a French toff, like what she told us?
Boris's Aunt Birdie has come to tell him more about Granny Butter's background.
Bird! I'm sorry to keep you there. Well turned up. Well done. Come in.
Shall I say Granny Butter when she was young?
Yeah.
That's Granny Butter with her father.
Oh, wow.
So,
and who is her father?
That was Stanley Williams.
Stanley Williams?
Yes.
Right.
Whom your father is named after.
Yeah.
That's her with her mother. And her mother was French.
Right.
Marie-Louise de Pfeffel.
De Pfeffel?
Well, that was her maiden name.
Her maiden name was de Pfeffel. Okay,
yeah.
So that's where Granny Butter gets the whole de Pfeffel shtick.
Yes, that she was so keen on.
What happened to the chest of silver? Do you remember the chest? Was it a chest?
That got sold so they could go to Australia to visit my sister.
I see. Hey, but now talking about de Pfeffels, when I heard you were coming, I panicked. Ages ago, you gave me two lovely pictures of de Pfeffels, and I couldn't find them. You did,
yes.
yeah. And I've been fossicking around, and I found them behind one of them behind the back of a cupboard, and here they are. Now, are these guys, these old guys, related to Marie-Louise de Pfeffel?
Yes. I completely forgot I gave you them. Charles Baron de Pfeffel.
Is he the Baron?
He was Baron. Caroline de Pfeffel.
How old is the barony of Pfeffel?
Now, these are questions you're the one who's on this journey.
Well, we've got to find out.
Birdie has a document that reveals more about Baron Charles de Pfeffel, the man in the photo.
Hey, what is this?
His death notice.
Beautiful, most amazing document. Priez pour lui, pray for him. The Baron and the Baron de Pfeffel, the Count and the Countess de Taufkirchen, the Count and the Countess of Pochi have the honour of informing you of their sad loss in the person of le Baron Charles de Pfeffel, Paris, Stuttgart, Strasbourg, Rome, St. Petersburg. I mean, London, Paris, New York, Tokyo. So he's kind of serious Eurotoff. Died in Munich, 20th of January 1890, Chambellan du Roi de Bavaria. So this is the former Chamberlain of the King of Bavaria.
Must be.
So wow, so Bird, I mean, this is incredible stuff. These guys were not French. These guys were German. Mm-hmm. I think I better go to Germany to track them down. I'm going to claim the abeyant barony. I'm going to reclaim my title.
So the couple in the photographs are Granny Butter's great-grandfather, Baron Charles de Pfeffel, and his wife Caroline. But how aristocratic were the de Pfeffel family? Boris is on his way to Germany on the trail of Baron Charles de Pfeffel.
I would justify this otherwise gross exercise in narcissism as follows: that it is interesting to look at how British I can feel, and yet actually what a completely mongrel composition I really am. I hope the people of Henley will bear in mind that at least half of my antecedents are actually English. I mean, I know it looks like I'm some kind of foreign toff here, but, you know, which is not necessarily good PR. But at least half of my antecedents are completely English, aren't they? We found loads of English people. Good. English. Loads of.
Before 1871, Germany was a confederation of independent states and kingdoms. The Kingdom of Bavaria was one of the most powerful. Munich was its capital. Boris has come to the State Library in Munich. He has an appointment with Sabine Schleichert, a genealogist who's been doing some digging for him, trying to find out just how grand the de Pfeffels were.
Hello.
Hi.
How do you do? Hello, I'm Boris Johnson.
I'm Sabine Schleichert.
Good
Nice to meet you.
How are you? Now listen, I've got some amazing stuff here for you.
Great.
About the Pfeffels. Now here is some old pictures I found at home behind the cupboard in my house.
Behind the cupboard?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
afraid they'd fallen
this
down.
is nice,
These
yes.
are the Pfeffels. Pfeffel 1, and this is Pfeffel 2. This is Baron Charles de Pfeffel.
And that's his
Voici
wife.
sa femme. And you recognize these guys?
I saw a lot of papers about them, and they are a pretty interesting family.
Really?
So it's really nice to see them as a photo now.
Really, I know nothing
Great.
about them. I know nothing about them. Can you tell me who they are?
Yes, his original identity, so to speak, is Karl Freiherr von Pfeffel.
There we go. Karl.
Karl Freiherr.
Yeah.
Baron is the French or English title, and
Freiherr.
Freiherr is the German title. So he sounds really, German.
German?
Yeah.
The Bavarians have a section in the archive which stores all the information about noble families.
It says the Pfeffel family was nobilitated in 1828. This nobility is hereditary, so the children also were noble. But it is not a very old, medieval or something nobility. They were just nobilitated in 1828.
And that's when the Freiherr thing comes in?
Yes.
That's when he becomes a
Before
baron?
that, they did not have the title Baron of Freiherr.
Becoming barons entitled the de Pfeffels to one of the trappings of nobility.
It's really beautiful. See, this is your family's coat of arms.
Oh, wow. Pfeffel. Isn't that beautiful? You see, my darling Granny Butter so longed to see the name de Pfeffel preserved.
Yeah.
And I sort of understand why she cared about it so much.
So, as Granny Butter claimed, Charles de Pfeffel was a minor member of the nobility. But Sabine has uncovered something unexpected about the lineage of his wife, Caroline.
Now the interesting part of the story starts.
The interesting
yes.
part?
Let me fetch something. Exactly, thank you. Actually, you're not the first of the family who is interested in his ancestry.
Oh, really? I mean, other of my relatives have already been back to find out?
Yes, they tried so. And the first attempt was in 1869.
This is baffling.
Now we have von Pfeffel.
In 1869, Caroline's son-in-law, a Count Taufkirchen, was researching the ancestry of the de Pfeffel family through the Bavarian nobility register. When the nobility register tried to trace the lineage of Caroline, whose maiden name was the aristocratic von Rothenburg, it drew a blank.
I say, well, there is no family with this name in the Bavarian nobility register. We don't
Right.
know, we
No
don't
von
have them in the
Rothenburgs.
Bavarian nobility register.
Uh-huh.
So basically, they say we don't know who she was.
Uh-huh.
So this was in 1869, and in 1894, about 20 years after Caroline's death, Taufkirchen again tries to find out who his mother-in-law was.
Right.
So he somehow
Pretty indefatigable guy. It's niggling away at him. He's got to know.
It still worried him.
Who is
he
von
wanted to know.
Rothenburg?
So this is the answer from the nobility register.
This is the moment of truth?
Try to read these lines here.
It's in German, then? What is
Yes.
it? Yeah, okay. Does it say,
Your Excellency.
Your Excellency.
Beehre ich mich. I am honored to inform Your Excellency about Adelheid Pauline von Rothenburg.
Adelheid.
Yes,
That's a
so
lovely
she
name,
was
yes.
she was actually her official name, so to
Adelheid.
speak,
Yes,
was
beautiful name.
Adelheid Pauline, but she went by Caroline. And now the interesting part comes.
God, I can't read a word of that. What does that say?
She is Tochter der Schauspielerin Friederike Port.
She's the
Now-
daughter of the what's it? Schauspieler.
Schauspielerin. Do you know that name? Word?
Schauspielerin, the something player.
Yes. Actress.
The actress. Okay.
Yes. And there's no mentioning of her father.
Okay.
So now
So von Rothenburg. The idea that she's some.
where did she get that name from? That's a question.
Those are jolly good questions.
Taufkirchen writes back to the nobility register. Nach dem Grundsatz quieta non movere, he switches into
Quieta
Latin.
non movere, don't
Yes.
let sleeping dogs lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nach außen nichts aufzurühren, nicht aufzurühren.
Let sleeping
So,
dogs lie.
even
I mean,
if
we're
I'm-
about to find a dark secret here, are we?
I
What does
think
he suspect?
He suspects something.
Something really bad. Something deeply embarrassing.
And this is basically the end of the file. The nobility register tries to get the marriage entry from Augsburg and all that. But
The marriage entry from Augsburg
Yes. between Karl
Karl
and
and
Caroline.
Caroline. So wait, that could be interesting. The marriage entry from Augsburg.
I think it might be interesting to take a look at that entry. Yes.
I'm obviously on the verge of some real story here, but I don't know quite what it is. What's clear is that von Taufkirchen, posh German son-in-law of Caroline, writes to the German, Register of Nobility saying, tell me about these von Rothenburgs. I mean, that sounds jolly good, sort of Cavendish, Bentinck, Cholmondeley, Smythe. That sounds pretty posh to me. Von Rothenburg, just how posh are the von Rothenburgs, he says. And they write back saying, yeah, awfully sorry, old boy. She's the daughter of an actress, and we don't know who the father is. There's obviously yet more to be discovered in Augsburg, and maybe we'll find out more about the antecedents of the mysterious Caroline von Rothenburg, question mark, question mark.
Boris is on his way to Augsburg, 80 kilometers northwest of Munich, where Charles and Caroline de Pfeffel were married in 1836.
The key thing now is to work out the paternity of Caroline de Pfeffel, old blonde ringlets here, because there's a bit of anxiety and embarrassment about this. Obviously I'm not embarrassed at all, they're all fantastic, but there is some embarrassment that she is the daughter of an actress, and there's a question, that could be anything, an actress could be a euphemism for a woman of loose morals, let's be honest, I mean, we may be about to turn up a prostitute here, not just a bastard, but and not that I mind. I want you to know they can get up to anything. As far as my ancestors, they have carte blanche to commit whatever acts of fornication they want, as far as I'm concerned. But I want to know. And I want to know who Caroline de Pfeffel's father was.
Augsburg is a tranquil provincial Bavarian city. There's no obvious reason why Charles and Caroline de Pfeffel would have come here to get married. To try to find some answers, Boris has come to the Augsburg archive, where Dr. Neimer has arranged to show him a copy of Charles and Caroline's marriage record.
We have it on microphone. Would you please
Yes,
take a seat?
thank you. In here?
And we will put the foam in. And so it's better.
So how bad is it, Doctor? How embarrassing
It's
is it?
interesting.
Interesting. No alien species or animals?
Nothing like this. So 1840, 37, 36. Here we have it. 5, I think. Yeah, that's
Can you read that?
there at the 16th February 1836.
Yes.
Herr Mr. Karl Freiherr von Pfeffel.
Freiherr von Pfeffel.
Okay,
Yeah.
Baron.
Baron. Yes.
Born Dresden, 1811. And the bride, Miss Adelaides Pauline von Rothenburg.
And that's Caroline.
That's Caroline.
That's Caroline,
Yeah.
okay.
Born in 1805.
Okay.
So she's
a bit- She's older than
6 years old.
her husband.
Yeah. That's the mother. Friederika Port, actress.
That is Schauspieler.
Schauspielerin is
Schauspieler.
actress. And this is the priest who made the ceremony. Albert von Rieck, Bishop of Augsburg. So the
Bishop of
bishop
Augsburg.
himself...
The bishop does the business.
The bishop does the business.
Okay.
Yeah. In the chapel of the bishop, in
Chapel
his
of the
house.
Bishop. Chapel of the bishop,
That's a bit... it's not usual.
Not usual, right,
It's,
okay. Something going on here.
Yeah, and the witnesses was the president of the government, Ritter von Link, a knight of Link, and Dr. Caron Duval, first mayor of Augsburg.
The mayor of Augsburg.
Mayor.
So he got the Knight of Link and the mayor of Augsburg. So
Yeah.
it's quite a heavy-duty performance, this.
Yeah, I will tell you. And there is a remark. All records of this marriage the bishop has kept for himself. This is not usual.
What is going on? This is very
Yeah.
sinister. All the records of this marriage have been retained by the bishop.
No,
Why is the bishop
the
going
bishop
to such lengths
is-
to cover it up?
He was ordered to do this.
It looks to me as though she was pregnant.
Yes, that's right. She was 5 months pregnant when she married.
But where is Caroline's father?
I don't know.
I mean, there's Frederica Port,
Yeah, it's the mother. And
Schauspieler. Wo ist der Vater? Von Caroline.
It's not written there. I can't help you.
So this is all top secret. This is a state secret, basically.
It seems so.
Spooky.
Okay, you should go to the bishop's palace.
All right.
And there is even the chapel where they were married. So
We can go to the chapel where everybody met. Okay.
You can take a look at it.
I'm going to go there. Okay, good.
The private chapel is inside the palace of the Bishop of Augsburg.
Oh, my God. Wow. Well, they obviously redecorated it since 1836, didn't they? But this is it.
This is the secluded spot Charles and Caroline travelled to for their grand but secret wedding.
Why does Charles marry Caroline? She's 6 years older than him. She's pregnant. Look, someone said to the de Pfeffels, listen, you can't treat this girl like this. And so they all got together and they put the hard word on de Pfeffel Jr., Charles, and they said, do the right thing. And he said, oh, God, really? Okay, where? Okay, all right. And they said, I tell you what, it'll be fine. We'll take you to Augsburg. It's all going to run on rails. We're going to have a wedding. Bing, you'll love it. You won't feel a thing. That's what they told Charles. They said, just get in there, do the right thing. I think that's what happened. But what perplexes me is why any such political muscle should be engaged. Why? In whose interest? Caroline doesn't have any political clout. She's a daughter of this actress and an unknown father. Whose interests are at stake here? That's what I don't understand. Who's got their, who's got their tits in the ringer? Who's got their, how can I say this? Who's got, someone's got some political capital invested in this, and I can't quite work out who, and I can't see why. What is going on? What is going on?
As Boris struggles with the mystery, Dr. Naima rings from the archive.
Fantastic. Dr. Naima, that is fantastic. Okay, I've just been knocking my brains out trying to work out what on earth is going on. Lovely. See you in a second. Thanks. Bye.
What was that?
Brilliant.
What was that?
Okay, well, I don't know. Dr. Naima, the brilliant Dr. Naima of Augsburg, has produced fresh data. He's been fossicking around in the book, and he's found something else, which he says is very interesting. So I'm going to go now. Stick with it, folks.
Here you are.
Dr. Naima, how are you? Lovely to see you
Hello,
again.
nice
Now,
to see
what
you.
have you turned up? You found something?
We got something.
This is superb.
Take a seat.
Dr. Naima has dug out the original register containing Charles and Caroline's marriage entry.
And I found something very interesting.
You mean that wasn't on the microfiche?
It wasn't on the microfiche. It's page 43. Here are remarks made later by somebody.
Natürlich war Prinz Paul von Württemberg. Aha! Ich habe the mystery gecrackt. The
Yeah.
natural father
Natural father.
was Prince Paul von Württemberg.
Yes, he's the father.
We got the Vater von Caroline.
Yes.
And I suppose you could speculate that because she was branchée, as they say in France, she was connected,
Yeah?
but secretly connected, it was important that when she became pregnant, that she should get married.
Maybe one
daughter.
solution.
So the prince is secretly using his leverage to make sure things turn out okay for his girl.
I think so.
Do you know, this is all too good to be true, Dr. Neimer. I mean, this stuff in pencil, how do I know the BBC hasn't crept in and written this to make this show more interesting?
No, they did not do. It
You
was
sure?
before.
You swear? Yeah, I
I'm
promise.
sure I know. I keep the records.
Then Prince Paul of Württemberg is my great-great-great-great-grandfather,
Yes, seems so.
allegedly.
So, if you really want to check it out, you must go to Stuttgart, which is the capital of Württemberg. They should have the papers of Prince Paul.
Okay, vielen Dank.
Gerne.
So Boris must leave Bavaria to travel to Stuttgart in neighbouring Württemberg. Like Bavaria, Württemberg was another of Germany's old independent kingdoms. Prince Paul, the man who may be Caroline's father, was the younger brother of the King of Württemberg, William I. It looks like Granny Butter's claim of posh French ancestry may lead back to German royalty.
Here's the thing, if this prince guy, Paul of Württemberg, really is her father, then the real question is, did he look after her? Did he give her money, protection, support, whatever? And did she know him? I'd like to find out whether there was any kind of relationship between great-great-great-grandma Caroline and her alleged father. And here we are, 200-year-old scandal being exposed. Superb. Here we go.
Boris has come to meet Dr. Regina Kahler at the Stuttgart Archive, which holds the files on the royal house of Württemberg.
The whole family. Okay, let's see.
Aha. That looks pretty serious. Can I have a
A
look?
file of
Prince und Prinzessin Paul,
Yeah.
1816 to 1852. Hey, boy.
Could these files contain some reference to Caroline that would prove she is Prince Paul's daughter?
You can open it.
I open it, say he was married. So then maybe it was.
So that's the content of all what's inside this file.
Hey, here we go. Number 8,
Yeah.
Caroline von Rothenburg.
Natürliche Tochter, natural
Natural
daughter.
daughter, here we go.
Yeah, of Prince Paul, yes.
So file number 8, we need to find file number 8.
Number 8, yes.
11. Here we go. Caroline von Rothenburg, here she is. It's a big file.
It's a big file.
I got a picture of this girl. This is her. There you go.
But she's very old in this picture because in this file
Really? Well, let's have a
she's
look.
very young.
Really?
Here.
What does it say? What does it say? Hang on, let's have a look.
It starts.
There's a lot of stuff about her.
Yeah. It starts with this report.
The file relates to the years 1828 to 29, when Caroline was 23 years old.
Okay. Wait. Okay. Caroline, hang on. Something. What does that say?
Caroline of Rothenburg. She came in the month of August to Stuttgart
Yes.
because she wanted to talk to the King William.
So why she come to see him?
It's written here. She tells him that she's a natural daughter of Prince Paul and that she had left his house where she lived with him.
With Prince Paul?
Yeah.
So she was perfectly accepted by him as his daughter,
I think so. Yeah.
even though she was not legitimate.
Yeah. But this wasn't in Stuttgart. She lived with him in Paris.
She lived with him in Paris.
Yeah.
I see.
She left him. She says because he wants to marry her to a man she doesn't want to be
Right.
married. Yes, and that's why she left his house.
No kidding. Right, okay.
When she left him, she had no money, so she went to Stuttgart to her uncle, Uncle King.
Uncle King?
Uncle King
And
William.
he was literally her uncle. He was really her uncle. Yeah.
and to ask him for some substitution. How do you
Some money?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did she get any money?
Yes, she got it.
She did get some money.
Yeah, yeah. She got a gift from the king.
Great. What was it?
This list says it's silver. She got from him. Silver, yes.
Not the Defeffel silver.
I don't know.
Maybe that was the thing that was in the chest in my childhood. It's amazing what you say here about the silver, because before I left London, my Aunt Birdie gave me a picture of the Defeffel silver. Can you tell me what does this list say?
The 12 silver spoons.
12 silver spoons.
A big coffee pot.
Yeah, check. Big coffee pot.
Yeah.
We got big coffee pot.
Another little pot.
Little pot. We got little pot. Yes.
And something for the sugar. You know.
Yes. Sugar. Definitely. Well, thank you, King. Thanks to him, my grandparents went to Australia. It's very, very, very thoughtful. So they didn't flog off the Defeffel silver, they flogged off the Württemberg silver. So if she was the daughter of Paul, then it follows that, and who's the Paul the son of?
Of King Frederick I.
King, okay, that's good. I like this.
The
King
father
thing.
of King William and of Prince Paul.
Okay, who is King Frederick? What do we know about him?
It's a first Württemberg king, and if you want to know more about the family of Württemberg of this time, go to Ludwigsburg. There's a big castle.
Ludwigsburg, a castle?
Yeah.
A proper one. It needs to be reclaimed. Let's go and have a look at it. I think you can check out the castle. Right, well, here we are, back at the little family place in the country, and obviously they've gone ahead to tell that I'm coming back, haven't they? They know I'm coming. We're going to be bringing the luggage later, and I guess we're going to install ourselves in the East Wing. God, look at that Schloss or what? Das ist ein Schloss.
Ludwigsburg was the ancestral home of the kings of Württemberg.
Hello!
It's now owned by the German state.
A stonking great Schloss.
Boris is being met by historian Dr. Raphael Ertz.
Hello. How do you do? Hello. Raphael, hello. Boris Johnson.
How do you do?
How are you? Great pleasure to meet you. Hello.
Great pleasure to meet you.
Raphael, I want to know about the guys who lived here, because the theory is, which we're rapidly establishing, is that my great-great-great-great-grandfather is a guy called Frederick, or was a guy called Frederick of Württemberg.
Yes, the first king, Frederick I.
Yes. Who lived here? Did he?
He lived here indeed, and in fact, his apartments are over here.
Wow. Posh or what?
Throne room.
Fantastic. I like it very much, yes.
At the heart of the palace lies the Gallery of Ancestors, with portraits of Boris's newfound ancestors, the dukes and kings of Württemberg.
And here we have Frederick.
This is Frederick.
Frederick I,
Fantastic.
who was behind his back actually called the Potbelly Regent.
He's quite a hefty guy, isn't he?
His wife, of course, who, as you know, is the mother of Prince Paul.
Yes.
And her lineage is particularly interesting. So she is, of course, Augusta Caroline, Princess of Brunswick.
Oh, yes, he rings a bell.
And the wonderful thing is her mother is...
Her mother is... Oh, look at this. Augusta Hanover. Yeah, Princess Royal of Great Britain and Ireland, 1780. No, okay, so how... Just... Hang on. Raphael, I'm completely bewildered here. That's some... Who is the...
And her father...
Her father is Frederick Louis Hanover, Prince of Wales, in Britain.
Well, yes, there is only one Prince of Wales.
Okay, I just want to nail this down.
I
want to nail this down, yeah. Wales, England. I mean, Wales, Britain.
Wales, Britain. I think you want to be very careful.
Yeah, Wales, Britain, yeah.
And his father, of course...
No. So, wait a minute. King George II Great Britain, Ireland. Okay, so we'll say, if you take this from the top here, Raphael,
Yes.
he is my great
He's your great
grandfather.
8 times, yes.
Right. Well, there you go. I've sort of dimly suspected this for a long time, of course. No matter of no real.
No real surprise.
I am more than surprised. I'm stupefied actually by this.
It not only makes you a descendant of George II, you are in fact related to all European royal houses there are. To the Romanovs, you're related to the Swedish royal family, the Dutch royal family, the Prussians, the Hohenzollerns, all of them.
But there's a kind of kink in the whole thing with the element of illegitimacy there.
Yes.
That's the unfortunate element of that.
You are a genetic relative, but not in any legal or dynastic sense.
I think we'd have to. I think because the lawyers take a very dim view nowadays of people who discriminate against illegitimate children.
Well, I wish you luck.
No, it's a big issue.
And if you ever want to sublet any of this place, let me know.
There you go. All thanks to Granny Butter. And the de Pfeffels, how extraordinary. How amazing. Well, if you told me I was related to George II, I'd have thought you were absolutely crackers, because not even Granny Butter in her wildest dreams could have come up with that one. I would have been terribly proud to have been the descendant of the great, huge, fat, belligerent-looking German king. But I can't hide it from you. Even in this, European, even in our common European home, I'm particularly thrilled to find that I have some British royal ancestry as well, I guess I always thought of myself, and always thought of our family as being basically a bunch of Turkish, Jewish, mixed with this weird Granny Butter, Baron de Pfeffel stuff. So I always felt a bit of a, as I say, the product of incomers, product of newcomers to Britain. So it's totally bizarre, surreal, to be told that, in fact, my great ×8 grandfather is George II. But on the other hand, don't neglect this point, that insofar as he is my great ×8 grandparent, he shares that distinction with, I calculate, no fewer than 1,023 other people. So there must be several tens of thousands, someone who could work it out, of other people who are unknowingly in the same situation as me. And what it really teaches me is that we're all just great. Our genes just pulse down the lines. We're not the ultimate expression of our genes. We're the temporary custodians of these things. We don't really know where they've come from. We don't know where they're going. And it's fundamentally, in the end, incredibly democratic. Basically, the whole thing's mad. The whole thing's very, very bizarre. But actually, it turns out that Granny was right. It turns out that Granny was right, and we were wrong to snigger. Of course, there are various other castles I have to capture in the course of, my general hoovering up of the thrones of Europe. I think it's a good start.
The Who Do You Think You Are Encyclopedia of Genealogy has information, resources and advice on how to trace your family history. Well, BBC 4 is tracing the lives of so-called free women across the globe now with Storyville. And Nick Barrett, the genealogical consultant from Who Do You Think You Are, takes your calls and talks to Richard Bacon tomorrow night on Radio 5 Live from 10.